What is your name and study?
My name is Jason. I'm a biochemist. I taught organic chemistry and cell biology at a college in Reno for like 2 years.
Okay, and I want you to tell me the negative effects to, let's start with marijuana.
Marijuana, I think the worst thing probably would be they call it amotivational syndrome. It's not a real syndrome, but it's like where you basically lose mental ambition after using marijuana for long enough. You basically stop having the need to go and do things. People who make their lives about weed.
Okay, and then what about negative effects to cocaine?
Cocaine is a central nervous system stimulant, and it does damage to your cardiovascular system, to your heart and blood vessels. So it drains all the blood from your extremities, and it does damage to your heart, and also is really addictive.
Okay, and then heroin.
Heroin, I think the worst thing about heroin, of course, this isn't from personal experience, but the worst thing about heroin is the very low therapeutic index. Therapeutic index is the difference between the effective dose versus the fatal dose. So in some drugs like marijuana, you'd have to smoke like 1,400 pounds of marijuana to get to the fatal dose. A junkie who's taking heroin doesn't know the difference between the fatal dose and the dose to get them high is almost, they can't tell what it is. So you can really overdose really easily.
Okay, and then also like ecstasy.
Ecstasy, it does a lot of damage. There's studies coming out that it does a lot of damage to the hippocampus, to the part of your brain that stores memory. But it dehydrates you, and it does some liver damage too. They call it hepatotoxicity. But I think it's really the worst thing about ecstasy is that after a long time it damages your memory and your ability to function.
Okay, so what's the negative effects of prescription drugs?
Prescription drugs are some of the most addictive that there are, like OxyContin and oxycodone. Those are opioid painkillers that are actually more effective. They have a higher binding than morphine or heroin. So they're hugely addictive and all that stuff. And most of them damage your liver too. People who take a lot of prescription drugs usually end up with some kind of liver damage.
Okay, what are the negative effects to alcohol?
Alcohol actually is probably one of the most damaging substances that I can think of. I mean, obviously there's a potential for addiction, which is really big, and people who go through alcohol withdrawals can actually die if they stop drinking immediately. But there's this thing called cirrhosis of the liver, which is basically the tissue of your liver starts to die, and of course you need your liver to process like the toxins in your bloodstream. And that's pretty much incurable. Like once your liver tissue starts to go, it doesn't come back. And also, at high levels of alcoholism, you have memory loss, you have blackouts, and obviously you can't stop drinking. Alcohol is really, even binge drinking, which is drinking a ton of alcohol in a short period. Like you don't have to necessarily be an alcoholic to binge drink. Binge drinking damages your cardiovascular system and your liver a huge amount, even more than some of the more like narcotic drugs.
Okay. And last thing, what would you say to teenagers that are using, that are becoming addicted or just starting to use like cocaine, heroin, over the counter, not like prescription drugs, also alcohol? Like, what would you say to those people that are starting and it's starting to slowly become an addiction to them? What would you say?
I would say that when you're especially buying illegal narcotics, stuff like cocaine and stuff like that, you don't really know what you're getting. You hope that you're getting cocaine, but there's a lot of stimulants out there. And so when you're buying white powder, you could be buying something that's mixed with bath salts, you could be buying stuff that's mixed with baby laxative. There's a lot of stuff that they put in there which is not cocaine. And it's really even more damaging than cocaine, and it makes it cheaper for them to deliver it to you. So when you think that you're getting all kinds of really great drugs, you may actually be damaging your body more than the drugs would.
So we basically just say, just don't do it.
I would basically say just don't do it.
Thank you very much.